Alright, welcome everyone. This is the GothicWars.org video on how to play Space Hulk Death Angel, module for Vassal, based on a board game by Fantasy Flight Games. So first of all, you're going to download the Vassal module files and of course download Vassal itself and install it. These links will be on our website and will be below the YouTube video in the description. When you have installed Vassal and you put the module somewhere, you quite simply go to File, Open Module, and then select the module that you want. I had it prepared a second ago, but Windows has decided to pull one over on me. There we go, Space Hulk Death Angel. So open that. Right, so this is the Space Hulk Death Angel window, and we are going to quickly have a look at some of the things here. First of all, there are two buttons here, Rules and Reference. Rules is the full rulebook, and you can read through it if you fancy. The reference is a very quick guide on how to do things, so if you get confused after watching this video, or you don't want to watch the video again but forget something, you could quickly look at this reference thing here to get your head back on. Alright, so we're going to start a game up here. We're going to go to File, and we're going to go to New Game. We are going to be player 1. I'll talk about the other ones later. Alright, so this is what will happen when you load up. First of all, you have to drag this thing up here. Now, down here is the play area. This is simply a text and chat box. For example, you can type in here to other people if you're playing multiplayer and it comes up. So, that's us in the game, and we're just going to have a look at some of the UI before I go into showing you how to set up and play. So first of all, this is a dice-based game, and it's not a standard dice, it's a special dice. It goes from 0 to 5 and it has some skulls on some of the numbers. Bugger off. Right, so the dice is up here. This thing looks like a 0, and this is the default thing. It will change to what the last rolled number was. So to simply roll, you left click on it. So I rolled a 4 there. Roll again, 5, there we go, so 1. So you notice that this 1 has a 1 and a skull. The skull means that you kill a gene stealer, and I will talk about that later when we're actually going through the play of the game. But as you can see, all of the rolls come up in here, so you can look and see what the last rolled thing was. Both the dice state on the UI here and the text window will appear in multiplayer games, so you will see the rolls of other people, and this dice will change when other people roll as well. Alright, now for new players, there's two features here called Phase and Travel. They're quite useful for keeping your mind in the right order. So, first of all, Phase. You start with the Choose Action phase. You can close it again and come back, go back into it again. We are moving to the next phase. Now we Resolve Action phase. Choose Action would be playing cards. I'll talk about that in a moment. Resolve would be actually resolving the actions in those cards. Gene Steal Attack phase, Event phase, and back again. If you get to travel to the next location, which I'll explain later, you can push this button here and travelling will appear. They don't actually do anything, you do not need to use them to play the game. They are useful just for new players. Right, this button here that looks like a bolter is a support token. It's just a stack of tokens. So click on it and you can left click and hold on the bolter and you can drag it around. To get rid of them, right click on the tokens and hit return to pool. I'll explain the use of these tokens later. Next up is locations. We are starting on a single player game. So this card here is the Void Lock for the single player game. You'll see that it says set up for one player. Then it tells you how many Space Marines you're supposed to play when you have one player. If you play two players, you have to right click on the Void Lock and hit the More Players option. That will increase it to the setup for two player card, which will again tell you how many Space Marines you need to have. Remember that the number of Space Marines in two player is divided by 2. Half controlled by one player, half controlled by another. Thirds for 3 players and quarters for 4 players. The other thing about the Void Lock is it tells you, oh, come on, it's a bit sluggish to zoom in there. You can see that in the sort of text box there's a grey bit there and it says location deck setup and it has a bunch of numbers with arrows in them. This is location 0, the Void Lock. Once you finish the void lock, which I'll explain later, you will move to location 2, and then 3, then 4. 4 being the final one in which you will win. In order to move location, you have to go to this location option here, and then select. So we have to go to 2, so we'll take 2 out of the random shuffler and we'll drop it on top of the void lock. There are new conditions on the card. This one particular here says that you've got to do its condition as soon as you enter the zone. I will explain these cards later. I'll put that over there because I can't actually get rid of it. Oh, yes you can. If you're over there you can. Never mind. What's next? Terrain. Right, so zoom in on the void lock again. There you go. Now you'll see in the top left corner and the top right corner there are 2 boxes on either side. They have a number and a symbol. They represent the piece of terrain that is going to spawn at this location and where it is going to spawn. So you'll notice on the left, the top left one, that symbol is the door, and that says that it is going to go in the top position on number 1. The bottom left one says it's the dark corner, and it's going to go 3 down, so it's going to go 2 below the number 1. On the right there, you'll notice that they say up. So the corridor is going 2 up from the bottom, so it's going on the second bottom marine. And the ventilation shaft, which is the 3 one there, is going 3 up from the bottom on the right. These locations change every single time that you move to a new location, and some of them, like the door, the artifact and the Prometheum tanks, have special abilities that you are able to interact with while you're playing the game. I'll explain those later. Now, to set up the terrain, you have to go to the terrain menu up here. Simply find the one whose symbol matches the ones on the card. So, for example, this is the door, and it would go there because it would be on the first top marine. I'll come back to setting that up later. The next thing is the blip pile. These 2 things here are the blip pile. That one's the graveyard. Now, the blip pile is the gene stealers in the room with you but have not yet attacked you. So to set up a blip pile, you have to go back to the void lock or the other location cards, and in the bottom left and bottom right corner you'll see there's a little radar symbol with a number. That number represents the number of blips in that pile on that side. So in this particular one there's 6 on each side. So we'll right click on this blip pile here, draw multiple cards, we'll choose 6, we'll then drag 6 onto each side. These are the ones that are used to spawn the gene stealers that will be attacking your marines. When you empty a pile, that is time to move on to the next location. So as you play through this, these ones will go on this side, these ones will go on this side. So the left blip pile feeds the left side of your marines, the right blip pile feeds the right side of the marines. As soon as one of the pile becomes empty, you move to the next location. Now, the moving overrides everything else. So if you're still in the middle of shooting gene stealers, you have to stop and move. You then spawn the new terrain, because of course the old terrain will go. You take care of any new text on the cards that require you to act as soon as they come into play, and then you continue on from where you left off. So I'll just put them back on there. Right, that's covered the gene stealers. Next is teams. This option up here is the team option, and what this is a stack of coins. In the box set, if you buy this for real, you'll get this stack as well. On the other side of these coins is a colour. They each represent one of the teams of Space Marines that you will play in this game. The idea is that if you're playing with 1 player, you will draw 3, and then those will be the ones that you use. If you're playing with 2 players, you will draw 2 each, and they'll be the ones that those players use. 3 will draw 2 each, and that will be the ones those players use. Now, this little box here is a shuffler, so I'll just put all the tokens back on, because I will be showing you how to deal with them in a moment. Next up is Marines. This option here houses the Space Marines. You'll notice that there are 6 teams: black, yellow, blue, green, red, and pinky purple. Now, these colours are important because they match the token that you drew in the team menu, but they also correspond to your action cards and what cards you can play during the game. So when you come to draw these Marines, say I wanted black and yellow, you would click, left click and hold on one of the Marines and drag them onto the shuffler. And you do the same for the others. Now, it appears that they've gone in the order you put them in, but when you pull them out, it will actually randomise the ones that come out. So be aware that you will need to shuffle them, because you want to mix it up. You don't want all the Marines from one team at the top or all the Marines from the other team at the bottom. That could lead to them being wiped out a lot faster and not being able to help your friends. So make sure you shuffle them. Right, so I'm going to set up the teams for real this time. So I'm going to just play with 2 sets of Marines for quick. So I'm going to play with Team Red and Team Green. I'm drawing now. So Marines Red and Green. Right, so that's my Marines drawn. Note that when you scroll this thing, it will scroll it for all the other players at the same time. So only have one person setting things up at a time. If you're the active player, which I'll mention in a minute, then it's your responsibility for moving everything around, or telling other people to. Generally, splitting the load is a lot faster. Alright, so facing is the final thing of Marines that we've got to go through here. Now, you'll notice that your Marine has an arrow on one side of them, and that shows which side of the room your Marine is facing. They may only attack that side. So Gideon here is facing left, so he can only attack Genestealers in front of him, and all the other ones here are left as well. Now what you have to do is, at the start of the game, the top half of the formation, which are these vertical row of Space Marines, face left, and the bottom half face right. So I'm going to swap Noctis and Valencio round to face right, because they're the bottom half of the formation. To do this, right click on the Marine and hit the right option. Okay, so that's my Marine set up. I now need to get my cards that I'm going to be able to play with throughout the game. So there's 2 menus for this. First of all is the player menu. This is your hand. You will put the cards you're capable of playing with in here, and I suggest that you grab the corner with your mouse and drag it and make it bigger, because you're going to want to zoom this in, because the text on these cards can be pretty small and you need to be able to read them on the fly. The zoom option is buggy in VASSAL and doesn't always work exactly when you want it to, so having it zoomed in will make it faster. So I'm playing with green red. Yep. So decks. You'll notice that there are 3 cards for each of the teams. You can only play the cards of the colour that you have, so it's going to be a pain. There we go. Green and red. So that can bugger off because I'm not going to use it anymore. Now, that is me completely set up, everything for the time being. So I am now going to show you how to play through the game. I'm going to go through a couple of turns, and then I'll explain the various victory conditions, and then I'll show you how to use multiplayer. So I am the only player, so I'm the active player. However, if you're playing in multiplayer, the first turn, player 1 is the active player. Player 2 is the active player for the second turn, and then you keep rotating through them. The person who is the active player, they have the responsibility for drawing the event cards and reading things off. If you move location, they have to set up the new terrain and the new location, and you can designate people to help you move Genestealers around. That makes it faster, but make sure you are clear when you communicate this. If you spawn too many Genestealers, well, obviously the Genestealers will kill you, but it means you can advance to the next zone a lot faster, and that's not how the game is meant to be played. So be very careful and very clear about what you're doing. So I'm the active player, so I am going to draw an event card, which is in here. Now, this stack of cards almost always comes out with the same first card, so you need to make sure that you right click on it and hit shuffle, because the card that almost always comes out first time is a card that allows you to resurrect a dead Space Marine. It's one of the most useful cards in the game, but if you've got it on the first turn, you're stuffed, you can't use it again. So make sure you shuffle that deck. To play a card from this deck, left click and hold and drag it to the other side. So I have the surrounded card. I just click and wait for it to hover. Is it going to hover? No. Alright then, we'll zoom it in. More than one way to deal with this. There we go. So, there's a couple of things you need to know about these cards. They have a lovely little picture on them. They have a block of text that you need to pay attention to. You have these two symbols down here. First of all, this says instinct. Instinct must be played immediately. You're not allowed to talk to any other player. You can tell them that you're playing an instinct, but you must choose the space marine that the instinct asks you to deal with on your own. You can't confer with your friends. If you were playing this on an actual table instead of Vassal, you would be the only player that can see these cards. So you would hold it to your chest until you'd finished playing the stuff in this card. But on Vassal, all players can see as soon as it's drawn, so just don't talk to them. This one says choose a Space Marine and move all Gene Stealers from everywhere on the board to that Space Marine. But I have no Gene Stealers, so that doesn't do anything. So that's kind of convenient, because that can be very nasty. It basically means your Space Marine's going to die. Now, these symbols down here will correspond to terrain cards that I have forgotten to set up, and we'll do so now. So, terrain cards. I need to set up the door, one down from the top here. The dark corner, let's go 3 down from the top, so it goes there. The corridor goes 2 up from the bottom, so it also goes on Noctis. And the ventilation duct goes there. Now, this game has an anti-clockwise rule, and it has a nearest place rule. So for terrain, you must place it where it says. You go from the top to the bottom. If you have to put it in a place that exceeds, for example, if this one here, the ventilation duct was to go in spot 5, it can't go in 5 because 4 is the highest I've got, therefore it goes in 4. If that one then said it had to go in 4, it would go in 3 because that ventilation duct has already taken up its spot. So you have to play them in the order that they come in, the top left and the top right first, followed by the ones below them. And you put it in the highest place available on the right, or the lowest place available on the left. I'll just put them back where they're supposed to go. Back to the event card. Now, you'll notice 2 things here. First of all, I've got 4 blocks of red, which is the same as on the ventilation duct. And I've got 1 block of black and 3 blocks of yellow, which is the same as the dark corner. That means that Gene Stealers will spawn on red, so they'll spawn in ventilation duct, and they will also spawn on the dark corner for this turn. This symbol here, white arrow, corresponds to the void lock. On the void lock down the bottom in the middle there, you'll see that on the left there's a yellow arrow, and on the right there's a white arrow. Event cards can have white and yellow arrows on them, and you need to be careful because you don't always get them the same. So you could have to put yellow arrow on the right or the left and white on the other side. So be careful what you do. In this particular case, it says I'm going to spawn 1 Gene Stealer because the white arrow is number 1. 1 Gene Stealer on the ventilation duct, so that comes out of this split pile here, it goes there. And 1 Gene Stealer on the dark corner, which comes out of this split pile and goes down there. So that is everything set up for this phase. So it's time for me to choose what cards I'm going to play. So going back into my hand, I'll just drag that down there out of the way. I use 2 screens, so I'd normally drag it off to the right, but you can't see the other screen. And the next thing I'm going to open is the action window. Put that there, just for the time being. So there are 3 types of cards: attack, support, and move and activate. We're just going to talk about the green cards here, so I'm only talking about the green Space Marines. A green card only works in green Space Marines. It doesn't affect the red, doesn't affect black, it only affects the green. That means if you play a green attack card, your red people can't attack, it's only the green ones. And the same goes for all the other things. So attack is quite simple. It allows you to attack the Gene Stealers in front of you, or within range of you. I'll explain range in a moment. You'd play the attack card, you would get to attack, which means you roll a dice. If you roll a skull, you kill a Gene Stealer. If you roll anything else but a skull, it doesn't kill the Gene Stealer. Now, some cards have special abilities. This one here says if you roll a 4, you get to kill 3 Gene Stealers. That means that you can kill them on a skull, which is 1 in 3, or you can also kill them on a 4, and you get more on a 4. So that's quite useful. So pay attention to what those texts say. By the end of the game, you'll know what each of your cards does, because you're only going to have 6 of them at the most. If you're playing single player, you might have 9 of them, but in multiplayer, you're only ever going to have at least 2 sets. So getting to know them pretty quickly is good. Now the second card is support. Support allows you to put a support token on any Space Marine on the field. So if I played this green support card, I could put a support token on any green, red, or any other Space Marine I want. Support tokens are used to re-roll dice. So if you roll a dice for any reason and you fail, you can opt to use your support token on the Space Marine to re-roll it. They also have special abilities. This one affects only Sergeant Gideon, and that says every time he rolls a skull when he's defending, so when Genestealers are attacking them, the attack automatically misses. I'll explain the attack and defense in a little bit. Third card is Move and Activate. Now, with the exception of the yellow card, which I'll explain in a second, all Move and Activates mean you can move your Space Marine one up or one down. So Gideon can move one down because that's where Leon was, so Leon would move up. Now, Move and Activate also allows you to rotate facing, so Gideon could then choose to turn and face right. The other thing Gideon could do, and you can do all of these in combination, is activate the door. Now, the door says every time you activate it, you put a support token on it. When you move location, you get to kill a Genestealer in play for every single token on the door. So it's very useful. Now, the door can only be activated once a turn. So make sure that you think very long and very hard about who's going to activate doors, because you want to make sure that you don't leave a Space Marine in a stupid position, unable to attack if he's really powerful. What I mean by that is that Brother Leon here, his attack card says he gets to attack 3 times. That's incredibly useful. So you wouldn't want to move Leon up to the door and then leave him facing left, because you wouldn't be able to shoot anything. Well, actually he could, but the point is it would be less likely for him to shoot. So you want to think about who you're moving where. Now, you don't have to be facing an item to activate it. You can be facing the other way and still activate it. And the Move and Activate cards have special abilities as well. This one says after you finish the card's action, which is moving and activating and turning face, or any combination of the above, you can then spend, so you can take off a support token and make 1 attack from any of your Marines. Well, any of your green Marines it would be for this card. Now, in order to play cards, you right click on them and you hit play. You don't hit played, you hit play. So I am going to just, for the sake of this one, play green attack card. Just check that's right. Yep. I'm going to play a green attack card and I'm going to play a red support card. So that's how you play. Now you'll notice that they're face down. What this means is that all players will put their cards face down, and you will all turn them over at the same time. To turn them over, right click and hit flip. Now the thing is that you're not supposed to talk with your other players. You're supposed to decide on your own what actions you're going to do. This represents your Space Marines fighting on instinct. So I'm the only player, so I've played all my cards. I'm going to flip them. Now, the order in which cards are resolved is from lowest to highest of the numbers in the top left corner. So if I hover over Overwatch here, you'll see in the top left corner it says number 4. The top left corner of Dead Aim is number 16. So Overwatch is the smaller card, so it plays first. So I am going to play a support token, and I'm going to put it on Leon. Hover over that again and read it. So when I'm finished playing all of my cards, I can then choose to use that support token to make an attack. Next up is Dead Aim, because it's the next highest. So Dead Aim allows me to make an attack. So Gideon cannot attack because he has no Genestealers in range. Now, hover over Gideon, you'll see it says range 0 attack. That means that he can only hit what's directly in front of him. 0 is in front, 1 is 1 down or 1 up, 2 and so on and so forth. So we'll go down to Valencio. Valencio has range 2 attack, so he can shoot this one here because it's in front of him, this one here because it's 1 above him, and this one here because it's 2 above him. The same goes for Noctis. Leon can shoot 3, so you can shoot the one in front of him plus 3 either side, so he can shoot a total of 7 spaces, which is incredibly useful. So try and keep Leon alive, because he's going to be very useful to you later on. Right, So, dead aim says I get to attack. So, Gideon can't attack, but Noctis can. So Noctis is going to attack this Genestealer on the right here. I roll a 0, which means Noctis fails miserably and should be expelled from the Blood Angels. I also did not roll a 4, which is what that card says, so that is done. This is the end of my phase, so I can choose to use a support token to attack. I'm not going to use that because I might need it to survive. I left that open. Right, so we're now on Genestealer attack phase, which means the Genestealers are going to attack us. Now the order is left to right, top to bottom. So, nothing is attacking Gideon. The one on the right is attacking Leon first because there's nothing on the left of Leon. So this one Genestealer here is going to attack Leon. Leon needs to roll a dice to survive the attack. He needs to roll a dice number equal to 1 higher than this Genestealer or anything greater. So there's one Genestealer, which means if I roll a 0 or a 1, Leon will die. If I roll a 2, 3, 4 or 5, Leon will survive. So I roll a 4, Leon survives to fight another day. Next up is this one here attacking Noctis. Noctis survives as well. Nothing's attacking Valencio, so we move on. So it is the end of this turn, so we go back to the actions menu and we right click on these and hit plate, because we cannot use the same card 2 turns in a row. So I'll kill that for the time being. So, new event card, Stalking from the Shadows. Choose one Space Marine with at least 1 support token and discard it. Bugger, I was hoping to use that later. So right click on that support token and send it back to the store. Oh, forgot. Surrounded has no symbol down here, but this one does, and I'll explain that later. It's the Genestealer movement symbol. So we're spawning 2 on Ventilation Duct, 1, 2, and 1 on Dark Corner. For Noctis. Got some of both sounds now. Alright, so it is now my turn to play a card. So I will go back to my hand, which is here, and I will choose to use Leon's attack. Play card. And I will choose to move and activate with green. Okay, so actions. Flip these. Now the lowest one is Run and Gun, because that's 17. So I get to move and activate. So this guy is going to activate that door to put a support token on the door. And it says after resolving this card, I can each of them can use a support token to attack, but no one green has a support token. So next up is full auto. So Leon is going to try and chew this guy to pieces. So fails, kills. Right click on it, slain, goes to the graveyard. Valencio can attack these things here. So Valencio is going to attack the ones attacking Leon. So he only gets 1 attack, and he actually kills something, which is surprising. Right click on that, slain. So that is the end of my actions. The Genestealers now get to attack. There's 2 there. Double click on piles of Genestealers to separate them so you can count them. You can hover over them, but it only shows you up to 4 or 5, depending on how big your screen is, so it's not reliable. So, top to bottom, 2 of them are now attacking Leon, so I need to roll a 3. He dies. What a shame. Okay, so he's died. The Marines need to move up to fill the gap. So those Marines move up there. Next one. These Genestealers are now attacking Valencio. So, Valencio survives. Now, we'll just pretend that Noctis died for a second. Valencio would move up there. Now you may notice that we have a problem. So what happens is that this will go move up to the next available space, which is there. This will move up to the next available space, which is there. Now if that had been there, that can't move there because it's full. That can't move there because it's full. So the dark corner would remove. Yep, that's where it was. Genestealers, of course, would move up and join the other pile. So that's the end. Now we'll go back to the event card, and it was a Genestealer head. So if I've got any Genestealers with the Genestealer head, I do. He goes there. Now that moves up there. That display represents the Genestealers moving and skulking around, trying to get behind you and stab you in the back. Now, the anti-clockwise rule I mentioned a second ago, or a few minutes ago, means that if this gene stealer was to move from here, he can't move up one because it'd be off the board, so he moves anti-clockwise over to the side. If he'd been there, he'd move anti-clockwise over to the side and join that pile there. So, that is that. Now, I need to go back into here and remove these cards, because I can use these again next turn. Not that one, that one. And then right click played, right click, yeah, it's already in the thing. And I played the attack last time, didn't I? So that should be there. Alright, now this would continue. I would draw a new event card, and I would play the instinct. This one makes me choose another spaceman, and so on and so forth. That is essentially how you play. Now, if I was to spawn randomly just a bunch of blips, I'm just going to say they all go in there. If I played those for this turn, you would notice that this is now empty. That means that we stop, go to the locations, pull out the number 2, put it on top of there. Now, this is a different one from the one we had below. So, first of all, we have to remove all these because we'll need them. Oh, and we can kill a gene stealer because we've got one in the door, so we'll kill him. Just because they looked ugly. Well, they all do, but point is that we need new ones. So we need the ventilation duct and all these ones. But the one I'm interested in is the control panel. So, terrain, control panel. So we'll discuss about that. 4 up from the bottom means it goes to the highest place, which is there. Control panel is an activate. You can activate it once a turn. The different cards that require control panels have different conditions on which you use them. So the Teleportarium says that you may discard 1 support token or roll a dice. Once you activate it, you can activate the control panel at any time. If you discard the support token, you survive. If you roll a 0, you will die. So if you roll anything else but a 0, you will die. This allows you to move to the next area. All the gene stealers will come with you, but you get a free ride to the next section of the game. I don't care, the Avengers are showing. Right. Now I will just see if I can find... No, it's not that I want. It's these ones. So these are the end game for the victory conditions. So when you get to the final area, you'll draw one of these 3 cards. Control panel. Control room has a control panel. You get to either put a support token on the control panel when you activate it, or you can roll a dice. You need to roll a dice which is equal to or less than the number of support tokens on the card. So if there's no support tokens, you have to roll a 0. If there's 1 support token, you can roll a 0 or 1. If you successfully roll the numbers required, the game ends and you win. Otherwise, you need to keep continuing. Remember, you can only activate the control panel once, but you can spend an unlimited number of support tokens from the Marine activating the control panel to rapid fire your finger into the button and hope you survive. If you use more than 6 support tokens and you still fail to activate the button, you suck. So, we'll get rid of that one because we don't need it for the time being. Gene Stealer Lair. Now, Gene Stealer Lair, the condition is you have to kill the Broodlords. So, the ventilation duct is on the left and the capillary tower is on the right. They're both red 4-bar cards. So I'll just bring out the capillary tower because we've not seen it before. Oh, Spore Chimney, sorry. The Spore Chimney has an activate ability. If you roll a skull, you can discard it, which means there's 1 less place for Gene Stealers to spawn this turn. But the most important thing is that, we'll just move those Gene Stealers down there, say that's where they were. The Broodlord spawns beside the Spore Chimney. Now, you're supposed to spawn them on here, but it's better if you drag them out to the side. On the left, you're not going to have much options. You're probably just going to have to put them either on top of the Spore Chimney or just suck it up and put them in the Gene Stealer pile. Now, the reason for this is that the Broodlord dies just like a normal Gene Stealer, but he has to be the last Gene Stealer to die. So, in this particular pile, I would have to kill all 4 other Gene Stealers before I can take a shot at the Broodlord. As I said, he dies like a normal Gene Stealer. Roll a skull and he'll die. However, there's a -1 modifier here, which means every time the Gene Stealers attack the Space Marine beside them, that Space Marine has to take one off the dice roll. That means if you have one gene, just the Broodlord, you have to roll. Just get my brain on straight here. Yep. So you have to roll a 2 because there's one gene stealer there. However, because of that -1, you now need to roll a 3. So be very careful about that. He also has 2 movement squiggles, so he has twice as many chances to move location. So that is the gene stealer layer. And what is its special? Yes, it's just the Broodlords. So return to deck. Pumping station. This is another control panel. If you activate the control panel, you get to roll a dice. You discard that many cards from one of the blip piles. If there are 0 cards in both blip piles and 0 gene stealers left alive, you'll survive. So this is the annihilation condition for those that play Dawn of War. So this is the hardest one to win. Well, that's technically true. The Broodlords will rip you to ribbons if you're not careful, but if you play your cards right and you still have your defensive guys, like Gideon, whose card allows him to stay alive longer, you will do it. So, the final thing I want to mention about these cards is the artifact and the Prometheum tanker, so I think about it. So, artifact is required to be spawned by some of them. The active player gets to spawn the artifact anywhere they want. So you can spawn it here or here. It just can go off to the side. It's the only one that can stack. The artifact needs to be move and activated, just like the control panel on the door. The difference is that whoever holds this artifact gets to keep it in their hand. It stays with you for the rest of the game. You may discard it to get a get out of jail free card. Basically, if you are going to die and you have no support tokens left to try and roll again, you can use the artifact to stay alive. If no one picks up the artifact and you move to the next location, the artifact is removed because you didn't pick it up as you move through there. Prometheum tank is another move and activate. If you activate it, you get to kill every gene stealer attached to the Prometheum tank. So if this Prometheum tank was here, you activated it, it would kill that one gene stealer. It would not kill those ones, just the one beside it. You'll have to roll a dice though, and if you roll a 0, you die as well. Though that's rather heroic, I suppose. Right, that is basically how you play. So I am just going to go back to File, and I'm going to close game here. No, I don't want to save it. File, and for multiplayer, you have to choose. Now, if you are playing against one other person, you can use the peer-to-peer connection, which is the most stable, and you will have less chance to disconnect from it. So to set to peer-to-peer, click on the File tab. Don't hit Game yet. Go to Preferences. Go into the Server tab here, and hit Peer-to-peer. So when you hit File New Game, Player 1, you can now invite people to your game. How you do this is that you have to give out your IP address. So click this little button here that connects things, and you can click this invite player button, and it tells you what my IP address is here. That doesn't matter if you know it, because in New Zealand IP addresses change every single time you reboot the router. So as soon as I'm done with this video, I'm turning the router off and on again, which means none of you buggers can use that to hack my computer. You'll just hack some other poor person's computer, and I completely encourage that. No, I don't. Anyway, point is that you will have to have the other person open that button and find their IP address as well. Now, the person who is hosting doesn't need to do this. Actually, yes, the person who does, you hit the invite, and their name will come into this main room here. Now, if there's another name on here, if you're not the hoster, you need to right click on the person who is host, and you'll click synchronize. So if Apollo was to join me, he would right click on my name, and it's synchronized, which means that I'm the master player in this particular game, and any other way around. So, I'll just disconnect from that. If we wanted to play on the server, back in here, and then go back to default. Hit connect. Now, if you have the VASSAL module loaded up, you will appear in here. You'll be able to see my game, and you'll be able to click on it to join. Now the new VASSAL 3.2 that's coming out sometime soon allows you to connect to custom VASSAL servers. So there will be a third option in that file preferences menu. We will put up a picture guide to tell you how to do that when the time comes, because we will be hosting our own Gothic Wars server for playing VASSAL. Now, just as a final point I want to make, these games on VASSAL, including Death Angel, are a lot more fun if you're talking with the people you're playing with. So if you have a microphone for your computer, or even if you don't have a microphone for your computer, if you can listen through your speakers, I would advise you that you join the TeamSpeak server that we have for playing with this. TeamSpeak is just a voice over internet protocol program like Ventrilo. It also works just like Xbox Live Parties, how you can talk to each other. So the information on joining the TeamSpeak server is in the other games section of the forum. There's a sticky there. It tells you how to download the stuff and how to set it up. So that is the end of this guide. If you have any more problems, please make a post on the forum or PM me or Nox, and we'll be happy to help you. Maybe not Nox, he's quite busy with other things at the moment. But if you have any problems, make sure you have a post, and certainly post looking for game, because this is a lot of fun. It's fun single player because as it's a deck draw game, it's random every time, but it is an incredible amount of fun if you have more than one player. So I would highly recommend that you get some other people to play with, and I hope you've enjoyed this video and have fun.